Big welcome to Bealtaine Cottage. And before the light of today fades, I'd like to say a very happy Thanksgiving for all of you who live out in the United States of America. I think Thanksgiving should be every day because, as I said in my last video, my grandmother always gave thanks for what most of us now take for granted. Jack's bouncing about here. He said, yeah, and I would thank you, Mum, if you took me out for a little walk. Well, I will, shortly. So I've got a big thank you for the little tree that I managed to get when I went up through the forest. And this is the top of one of those Sitka spruce that blew over, because of course they're very shallow rooted. Let me just go through here for a moment. I'm going hither and thither about the place. Just want to show you over here actually. Just get a tissue. Let's have a little bit of a runny nose. Now, after this little video, I'm going to post some photographs of all the beautiful misty morning that was. There was some very low-lying sort of mist. I suppose it's dragon's breath really, because it's settled down in the valley. It was a very white morning. So I've just been into town, had to go and do a little bit of shopping. I also had to get an enormous amount of cat food for my daughter's stray cats that are increasing in number. I think the word has got round the cat telegraph that my daughter has a huge, soft, great big soft heart. It's quite funny really. I should have taken some photographs this morning, but I don't want to intrude on her house and her space. And so I went to the post office this morning to post off books and calendars, and I was having a chat with Declan in there. He owns the shop in the post office, and I said, oh, I must get some more cat food for my daughter. I usually buy it about once a week, and my daughter had said to me, Mum, they've got very fussy. They've got very, very fussy. They won't eat the cheap stuff. So it was my usual big shop. I spend more on cat food for cats I don't own or have or enjoy around me than I do on myself. It's ironic really, but anyway. So yeah, I got 4 big boxes of Whiskas pouches and 2 big sacks of, well, not the big sacks, but the kind of biggest ones that they sell in the local shop anyway, of Whiskas biscuits and Go-Cat biscuits. And then I got a few treats as well. So in the space of a few minutes, €35 was gone. But, and here's a lovely thing, Declan said, oh, I'll take a couple of euro off that. I just thought that was so lovely, you know, and that's the difference, you see, between shopping in a local shop where people know you and taking your business to a big supermarket where not only do the people really not know you, but the people who own the supermarket don't give a fig about you. They don't care a fig about you. So when it comes to Thanksgiving, like I say, Thanksgiving should be every day. We should be mindful, ever mindful of what it is we should be thankful for. From the smallest thing to the biggest event. And I'll have to take him outdoors because he really just has to go. No, birds are singing. Oh, crows are... no, they're magpies. Now they look as though they're chasing a predator. Because I've seen them do that. A lot of noise out here. All the little birds like flitting around. You see how easily distracted I am here. So I can't think of anything now except the birds. I'm just looking around. It's gone very quiet. That was a bit of bird argy-bargy. So I've cleared all the nasturtiums. And I'm filling up the wheelbarrow with more stuff to take down to the pond. It's a very gentle day, it's very soft. There's not as much of a wisp of wind. And when I was driving over to Ballyfarnan, I drove past Mantilla, as I do, and it looked like a sheet of glass. There wasn't as much as a faint ripple on the water. So all in all, it's been a rather beautiful day. Now, no sunshine to speak of, but that's okay, because it was nice and dry. I still have my fancy clothes on from being in town. I always try to make the effort to get dressed up because it makes me feel good. Makes me feel good. So I've got this long sort of woolly coat, cardigan coat, a nice scarf. I've got my fancy boots on and a nice little top. There we go. I'll have to get another one of those full-length mirrors for the porch so I can quickly pop in front of the mirror and you can see what I'm wearing. Because I'm not at all faint-hearted when it comes to clothes and textures and textiles and colours. I love them, absolutely love them. I think it's part of my Celtic ancestry, because the Celts were very fond of woven clothes and gold jewellery and body painting and tattoos and wild hair and, you know, because this is something else, you know, that people don't give an awful lot of thought to. And people say, oh, I just stay casual. Well, for someone like me, who's in workaday, working clothes, almost every day, to have a shower and wash my hair and, put a little bit of makeup on and put on some nice clothes. It gives me an absolute break. It gives me a break from what is normal, everyday stuff. And when I say to people, kindness is so important, but be kind to yourself first, that's one of the ways in which you can be kind. Don't be at all bashful about it. Don't apologise for, dressing up a bit and taking care of yourself. An awful lot of the culture, or certainly the kind of cultural norms of Ireland that I grew up amidst, and it was terribly religious as well, very Roman Catholic, and women were sort of cold-shouldered a little bit for dressing up. And of course that was in the days when you had to cover your head in church. And we used to just wear headscarves or whatever. But at some point during, let me see now, what time was it? It would have been during the 1960s, because I would have been about 10 or 11, so it would have been 65, 66. There was this fashion craze, which was a religious fashion craze, by the way, so that was okay. Came in from Italy, or was it Spain? I don't know, one of the Latin Mediterranean countries. And the fashion craze was called a mantilla. Mantilla. M-A-N-T-I, I think double L-A. And the mantilla was this gorgeous piece of black lace that you put on over your head. And it was so exotic and so gorgeous and so, romantic that suddenly the church on a Sunday was filled with women with their heads held quite high, that terrible sin that we were all warned about. What was it? What was it called? The opposite of humility. Oh, whatever it was called anyway. But, and I remember begging my mother for a mantilla. Begging her. And we actually had to go to a little shop, I think it was in John Street in Omagh. What was it called? Waterson's? No, that was further down. Patterson's. I'm not too sure of the name of the shop. But I remember getting a little black mantilla, and I think the cost of it was about 6 shillings, which in present day money would translate to about, about 30 pence or something, whatever. Or 50 cents, something like that. But of course then that was a lot of money. A lot of money. So I got my mantilla and I felt like Sophia Loren. I was only a very young teenager, but already beginning to be influenced, by movies, or as we said in Omagh, films. So yeah, how on earth did I get onto that subject? Mantilla. Anyway. So yeah, Thanksgiving. Oh yeah, it was clothes, wasn't it, what I wore out today? I suppose one of the reasons too why I love to dress up is that for my 11th birthday, I really, really wanted to have a red corduroy pinafore. I think I've told you this story before. And of course, a red corduroy pinafore wasn't to be had anywhere in the town. So my mother bought the material, and there was a dressmaker who lived out on the Derry Road, Noma. And my mother took me down to see her, and she measured me up and made, I mean, it was a very, very basic little pinafore. And it was just kind of two pieces, you know, sewn together with two pockets then in on the front. But it was just, I loved it. And I loved to feel the material, you know, because corduroy has that beautiful different feel to it, you know. So, yeah. So, I'm always thankful, as I was then at the age of 11, for my red corduroy pinafore. Very aware of how precious it was. And I have a black and white photograph in the house there, and I'm wearing the pinafore, and it obviously grown because you could see where the hem had been let down, you know. There was a crease line in the fabric. So Thanksgiving, giving thanks for everything. I suppose to live in a state of gratitude. Like I said, my grandmother used to thank God for my bed, thank God for my fire, thank God for the tea. But it's something that we don't do enough of. We don't actually remind ourselves of that need for gratitude. Now the level of the pond has gone down considerably because the flooding, even though it didn't rain hard, it rained persistently. The flooding has quelled. And everything's back to normal. It was strange looking out the window this morning and seeing all the mist. Reminds me of how close we're coming to midwinter. And again, before anyone says, but the 21st of December isn't midwinter. In the Celtic calendar, it jolly well is midwinter, because it's the time of the shortest day. And the calendar that I live with is all about the light. So the man-made nonsense of what is midwinter can go take a hike. But there's some beautiful, beautiful light now to be seen in the mornings, regardless of what the weather's like. It's both ethereal and very enchanting. It conjures up. It conjures up more mental images than what your eyes are actually looking at. And there's also this beautiful quietness. You can sense it now, can't you? And looking up there, look towards the cottage. To be able to see right up. It's wonderfully still. And again, if you didn't know which time of the year you were in, other than, the leaves are off the trees, so it's sometime between autumn and late spring or mid-spring. Just by looking at the light and listening, even just closing your eyes and just listening, you can hear it's going down towards those beautifully still days. I've hardly been on social media for my own interest, should we say, recently, because there just seems to be this cascading nonsense. And also, and it's one of the things I do object to, when you go onto Facebook now, and Twitter, there are advertisements that come up which have nothing to do with whether you want them there or not. And a lot of them are very disturbing advertisements. I don't want to see images of animals that have been cruelly treated, or children who are half starved to death. There is no reason to have animals cruelly treated. If there was an international convention on the basic treatment of animals, with very sharp sanctions placed upon countries that didn't abide, including my own. Don't let's think this is a third world thing, because it's not. It is not. Factory farming is an abomination. And as far as I'm concerned, there's no discussion on that. It's a complete abomination. But I don't want to be seeing those images. And certainly when it comes to hungry children, what causes the most hunger in children? War. War. Everywhere where there's been a famine, there's been a war. Why is there a famine? Because it's usually the women who go out and farm and grow the crops and grow the food. And when the men are all killing each other and bombs have been dropped and guns have been fired, the women can't go out and grow the crops. So it's it's not something I want to see, because it makes me feel really angry. There's such a deep sense of injustice about it all, because I know, and you know, it doesn't have to be this way. For example, I'll give you a little example, all right? It was announced by Boris Johnson's government that they were cutting aid, foreign aid. You know, food to people who are starving, help for mothers with children. But whilst they were cutting the foreign aid, they are increasing the military spending. Military spending is now going to be, what was it? Was it 4.5 billion or was it 7.5 billion? Some extraordinary amount of money. How dare they? How dare any country see itself as being a peacekeeper in the world when there's evidently no peace in the world at all? Nor will there ever be. So really, the military spending should have been cut. And that 4.5 or 7.5 billion, I don't know, it was some extraordinary amount of money, should have been given directly into food aid and women's education. Anyway, I'm ranting now, aren't I? Never meant this to be a rant. But yes, I mean, social media is just causing a huge amount of frustration now for me. I really don't want to see those terrible advertisements popping up in front of my eyes, because you cannot unsee those images. And in the past, the image of a starving child or a terribly ill-treated and malnourished animal would have me in tears. But now it just makes me so angry, because I know it doesn't have to be like that. So, on this Thanksgiving Day, I give thanks for what I do have. I give thanks for the fact that I can supply cat food to my daughter's cats, her waifs and strays. I give thanks for having lots and lots of hot spring water. Well, it's not a hot spring, it's spring water that's been heated up to have a shower and the time to be able to, just do my hair and put on some nice clothes. I give thanks for all of those things. Blessings to you all.